So there are a lot of fancy schmancy people at the universities who would say that you people could not understand Derrida.
What?
I know. Isn't that crazy? First of all, the first thing we need to know is that this dude's name has 2 R's. Okay. Now, what did we just say about context?
Context matters.
Nice and loud.
Context matters.
Context matters. So, if I'm reading the sentence here that says, in agro laborat, what does that mean?
In the field she works.
In the field she works, or
In the field he works.
in the field he works. Is it he works or she works? Please do not be distracted by anything right now. Crayons, put them away. Let's just take notes, or whatever that is. How do we know it is in the field he works or in the field she works? How do we know which one it is?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. Very good. So we need to look.
In the context clues.
Okay, for context clues. Excellent. I love that language of all those tests and stuff. Context. Oh, let's look at the etymology of the word context. We know that the word companion comes from the Latin roots. What are the Latin roots of companion? You don't have to think. You don't have to look at your page. You know, cum and nice and loud. Pan, right? So your companion is someone that you.
Related.
I'm talking about etymology here.
Eat bread with.
Eat bread with on a literal level, right? The literal etymology. That's why you relate to them. Like, Nitrafan, have you eaten rice? You would say that to someone you care about, like your friend. In China, they don't eat bread so much, but they do eat rice a lot as their staple carbohydrate. So that there they say, "Hey, this is my rice buddy." Nitrafan, right? Have you eaten rice? In this Western culture, bread is the big thing, because we don't use the rice grain, we use the wheat grain. Okay, so hang on for a bit, take notes, don't get distracted by things. Yes.
Why don't they eat bread?
It's just that rice grows really well in that region of the world, so it kind of became.
But so if they wanted to eat bread, they could.
Yeah, you can. It's just like they're kind of like, why don't they eat rice in America? We're like, we do. Rice-a-roni. It's a San Francisco treat, right? Right, but there, it's really a much more common thing. Like we eat bread almost every day here.
Yeah.
They eat rice almost every day. Yeah, we eat rice sometimes here, right? We eat rice here too.
A lot of Chinese people eat rice with hot spices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I eat brown rice.
Rice and beans is a very popular
Yeah.
thing, right? But they don't. In China, they don't eat the same thing. Let's get back to Derrida, because I wanna just address this myth that 5th graders, you guys can learn this. It's easy. It's easy. It's so obvious. Okay, yeah, you are awesome. Okay, in agro labora. Translate that. Nice and loud. We never have covered the ing forms. I don't know where you guys are getting this present participle from. One more time. Nice and loud. Okay, who?
He or she.
Okay, right. He or she works in the field. All right, so if you've got a glazed over look on your eye, sit up straight, wake yourself up. He or she works in the field. Do we know if it's a he or she yet?
No.
No. What are we going to use to figure it out?
Context clues.
Context clues. Let me tell you the rest of this little caption here underneath this little picture. Okay. Flacus est colonus Romanus in agro laborat. All I'm asking is, do we use a male or female pronoun here for he works in the field or she works in the field?
Well, at first I thought about the dog thing, but no, because a dog can't really work in the field. But if Flaccus is a boy's name, so I'm guessing it would be a boy, and by the pictures it shows a boy and not a girl.
Okay. Flaccus, boy. Or a man here. So inagro labora. Yeah.
I have a explanation on how it could be a man. Well, first, this question will support my point. Is this in modern times, or is Latin like a really old language?
Latin is an ancient language. However, this is a modern reconstruction. So these are not ancient. These words are kind of based on study of the ancient language, but reconstructed to kind of go with these little pictures.
Okay, well, my point can probably still work. Sometimes men are used for making the money in the family and like doing all the work, and the women were used for like taking care of children and making the food. So it's probably a man doing all the work.
I think it's a man taking all the credit for the work, right? I think the woman is doing a lot of the work. I think that, yeah. So, but yeah, different kinds of work, right? Fine skills, weaving, looming, yeah.
So what you're saying is, so the women do all of the work and then all the men take the credit.
That's what I was saying as a joke. I think, it's different. It's different. Different kinds of work. In different time periods. Pretty much in these ancient days, everybody was busy a lot. And they only had so many hours in the day because they didn't have like electric lights, so much, maybe a little bit of other things. Okay, so what I have here is one of the most... Uh-oh. Where did I put the Aeneid? Where did I put the Aeneid? Oh, here it is. What I have here is one of the most important books in the world, translated into English. So this is one particular translation. I don't mean that this copy of it is the most important in the world, but this is one of the most famous books in the world, and a lot of our stories, including, including Hamlet's ghost, like his description of, hell comes from Book 6 of the Aeneid. He was the first guy to say that, basically, this is Virgil. He's the dude. He writes about this guy named Aeneas, okay? And Aeneas basically goes into hell. He goes to hell as a living person to like check it out. He's looking for. We get to see what it looks like. He's looking for his girlfriend. Because he was a real jerk to his girlfriend, Dido. You may have heard of the Dido and Aeneas. Anyway, it's the story of this couple, and he's like, "Baby, I love you so much. I love you." And she's like, "Oh, Aeneas, I love you too." And then he's like, they go to sleep, and he's like, "You know what? I gotta get on my ship." And he just like takes off. And then she's like, "I can't believe this! You left me!" And then what does she do? Killed herself. Because she so loves him that she can't like bear to deal with it. So kill herself. Yeah.
What's the book called?
Oh, this is called the Aeneid. Good. I like how you're taking notes here. So, Aeneid is spelled A-E. It's hard to spell. N-E-I-D. Like the Aeneid. The Aeneid. The Aeneid. And it's called the Aeneid because it's about this guy named Aeneas. Holly.
Well, what's kind of weird is that seems a lot like Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, yeah.
Because love, killing yourself.
Yes.
Thing.
Very much. And Shakespeare, we know, read this stuff. In fact, Shakespeare was brought up on Latin and Latin stories and things like that. But even before him, Dante, who we're going to read too, who was living in the I think like late 1200s, 1300s, he also made a description of his pilgrim, this guy Dante, who when he was 13, they're all like 13, he fell in love with this girl, Beatrice, they were both 13, and then she died because she got sick. He kept growing older, and he just thought about her all the time. And he like couldn't get over it. So he actually, in Dante, which is a very, very, very famous, it's called often called like one of the most important texts in the Western canon. So in Dante's Inferno, Dante's Paradiso, and the one in between, Dante's Purgatorio, and Purgatory is the place that the ghost of Hamlet, Hamlet's father, that's where he's like describing. Anyway, Dante, he's like lost. It starts off, he's lost in a dark wood, and he's like, I was like in the middle of my life. Everything was just, it was like his life, he was a mess. He's like, I don't know what to do. Picture it as a 5th grader, like, do I go to recess? I don't know where to go to recess. Do I stand over there? But you're like, you're really confused a lot. And basically, all of a sudden, this dude shows up, and his name is Virgil, right? And Virgil is like, he's got like a lantern and stuff, and he's like, hey, come with me. I'll show you. You want to see a real good time? And Dante's like, where are we going, man? But Virgil's considered one of the greatest poets ever, right? Considered one of the greatest poets ever. There are probably a lot of others, but he wrote it down. That's the difference. And he wrote it down. So Virgil takes Dante on this tour, and he's like, all right, let's go to hell, right? And in the tour, they go to the different parts of hell in rings. It's like, and then they start off in the outer ring where there's just like the kind of bad people, right? The people that it wasn't even their fault, even, not that bad, crimes, whatever. And then they keep going closer and closer into like the sinners, like the worst and worst sinners, until they get to the very middle. And I'm not even going to tell you what the very middle is, but right now we need to master our Latin. If you master your Latin, we get all our lessons in. Oh, it's way worse than that.
The people who
Well, we're not going to guess about that. We're not going to guess about that. Okay. But what I have here is the Latin of the opening of this. It's called the invocation. Yeah. And in the invocation, just jot down your questions if you would. Just jot down your questions and comments. In Book 1, there are 12 books, and it said that each book represented a scroll of, like, papyrus. They used to, like, write on this kind of, like, papery stuff made from reeds, right? And basically, they just scrolled it up into 12 scrolls, and each book was a scroll, so they just had 12. And 12 is, like, a really cool number for you to, if you're writing an epic, do it in 12 books. Okay. So this one guy, Robert Fitzgerald. This is his translation. He's a modern dude. He's just a modern dude. He's someone, like, if you guys like this Latin stuff and you want to keep doing it, you could do that, like, all the time. Just reading cool stories and translating them. That's what he does. He just sits around translating stuff. It's like, Bobby, we need another edition, man. He's like, all right, how about this? I sing of warfare and a man at war. From the seacoast of Troy in early days, he came to Italy by destiny to our Lavinian western shore. A fugitive, this captain, buffeted cruelly on land as on sea by blows from powers of the air. Behind them, baleful Juno in her sleepless rage. And cruel losses were his lot in war, till he could found a city and bring home his gods to Latium, land of the Latin race, the Alban lords, and the high walls of Rome. Tell me the causes now, O Muse. how galled in her divine pride, and how sore at heart from her old wound, the queen of gods compelled him, a man apart, devoted to his mission, to undergo so many perilous days and enter on so many trials. Can anger, black as this, prey on the minds of heaven? Tyrian settlers in that ancient time held Carthage on the far shore of the sea, set against Italy and Tiber's mouth, a rich new town, warlike and trained for war. And Juno, we are told, cared more for Carthage than for any walled city of the earth, more than for Samos even. There, her armor and chariot were kept, and, fate permitting, Carthage would be the ruler of the world. So she intended, and so nursed that power. But she had heard long since that generations born of Trojan blood would one day overthrow her Tyrian walls, and from that blood a race would come in time with ample kingdoms, arrogant in war, for Libya's ruin. So the Parcae spun, in fear of this, and holding in memory the old war she had carried on at Troy for Argos' sake. The origins of that anger, that suffering, still rankled deep within her hidden away, the judgment Paris gave, snubbing her loveliness. The race she hated, the honors given, ravished Ganymede. Saturnian Juno, burning for it all, buffeted on the waste of sea those Trojans left by the Greeks and pitiless Achilles, keeping them far from Latium. For years they wandered as their destiny drove them on from one sea to the next. So hard and huge a task it was to found the Roman people. That's the first part of the Aeneid. That's the first kind of chunk of text. And I have here the Latin. So I want to see if we can put together some of the things. So you know how you say like arms when you're talking about in the army, like weapons, like the arms. That's what this kind of arm. Excuse me. I want you to sit there now. Okay, that's what this kind of arms is referring to. Also, I need you to know that the word "and" in Latin, it can be expressed in two ways. We've already talked about one of them. What's the one that we've talked about? Et, as in etc. and others. Okay. Another way that the word "and" can be expressed in Latin is just by putting a que on the end of a noun. So if I wanted to say dogs and cats, I'd say dogs, cats, and. But the word on the end, when it comes like that on the end, is dogs, cats, que. That's just how it's expressed, Q-U-E, and when it's stuck on another word. So, to chant, la 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 la. What does that mean to chant? Or cantar? Wake up, folks. What does that mean?
To chant means to say something over and over and over.
Okay. What's another meaning?
God means to sing.
To sing, cantar, chant. A cantor in a temple is someone who sings, like sings the prayers, like Baruch hu Adonai hamvorach, Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu toratim. Yeah, so that's right. So a cantor to chant, to cantar. Sit down, please. You've been the cause of enough. Okay. So when I say kano, think of chant, think of cantar, think of cantor, kano. And it's when it's, just like in Spanish. The O is the first person verb. We haven't covered this yet. Like, we've covered, like, ducat is what? Who? Him leads? When we say him leads the dog.
Him or her. He or she leads.
Good. And that's the difference. He or she is the nominative case. Him or her is the accusative case. So that's the difference. Okay. So I want you to think about the first famous words of the. If you're sitting over like and drool's about to come out of your mouth, I mean you need to wake yourself up and take notes. Hands on your pencils. Obviously. Okay. See if you can get the meaning of this. And before we can get the meaning of this, you have to know one other word. It's a really kind of unfair thing. It's a gendered thing. So the more you can learn about language and gender and how girls and boys are like built into language, it's like the more power you'll have. So ladies need to listen up to this stuff. Okay. Virum or vir or wir, that means man. Okay? Wir or wir, man. In the accusative case, it's virum. So if the action is being done to the man, it's like virum. Here's the unfair part. Well, I think it's unfair. What do you think about this? The word virtue, where does that come from? Yes. That's right. So a very virtuous person. Yeah. Etymologically, in terms of the etymology, that would mean like how much virtue does this person have? That would mean how much manliness,
How manly is he?
Right. Now it's applied to both men and women, right? Right? Virtue is actually probably even more often ascribed to women in language. But it originally comes from that word, meaning man, which could, some people argue, mean both man and woman, meaning like human. As in, like Mensch in German, which just means human. Person, okay? You know how people argue that today, like, this is for all of mankind. You know? Or all men are created equal. The people that were writing that, a lot of people will say, well, they really meant men and women, but they just said men. Right? Now we would say, actually, I think Obama in his inaugural address the other day, he rephrased that a little bit in a really cool way. He said that like something like, that we are all created equal. He kind of echoed those words, but changed them a little bit to make it actually more gender neutral, which is kind of cool. So, are you ready for the part that you need to translate?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's a Trojan?
That is someone from Troy. So Troy is a place. Troy. Like the Trojan horse. Have you heard of that? Yeah, there's a lot of cool stories that come out of this. Yeah?
Oh, I know the story of the Trojan horse.
Good. Write it down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All coming from this place. Okay. Are you ready? Oh, I could write it, or I could, yeah, I'll write it. Okay. Arma virumque cano. I'll give you a hint. Everyone needs to obviously take notes on this. I'll give you a hint, though. In the beginning of an epic poem like this, generally the narrative voice, right, like the narrator, comes out at the beginning and he goes like, all right, here goes. Ahem. Ahem. Let me get all that. Right? So he basically does a version of that, only in language. So what he's going to do here is he's saying about what, and in a poem is like a song, right? So he's going to say, he's telling us what he is singing about, what he or she is singing about. The narrator of the Aeneid is at the beginning of the poem, in these words, telling us about the topic, like your introduction, right? The introduction to your essays. You're going to say, this is what I'm going to be talking about. So look at these words. You have all the tools you need to translate them. Just put your thinking caps on. Don't yawn. Get excited about these words. It is boring if you allow it to be boring, or it's exciting if you make it exciting. So don't sit back and kind of just whatever. You know it. You don't even need to look it up. Focus. Think hard. Let your ear focus loosely on the sounds of these words and let them kind of remind you of words that you do know, especially the ones that I have in the very recent past been talking about. I wasn't just talking about them for no reason. Everybody write down the translation that you have, that you've come up with this. I also want to tell you that arma is a plural, even though there's no, like in English there's no S. We haven't done the but that's a plural word. There are two nouns and a verb. The verb is in the first person. The narrator is telling us, like, I do an action about these two things. Who can locate the verb?
Oh, I know the verb for these.
Okay.
There's two texts in Spanish that I know, or two meanings.
Nice and loud, please.
There's two meanings that I know in Spanish that means arma. First one is guns. The second one is hands. Yeah.
Okay. In this period, this is like thousands of years ago, there were no guns, but there were, like, what were there? Huh?
Swords.
Swords and arms, okay. Yes?
Is the verb sing?
Yes, very good. The verb is sing. It's in the first person, which means, who's doing the singing? Larson? Don't have that spaced out look on your face like, I have no eyeballs, just cotton balls in my eyes. Right? Good. First person. Where do we point our finger for the first person? Remember, that's right, me. Like, I'm the most important person in the world. You all have to point yourselves. Point yourself. Point yourself and say, me, I come first.
I come first.
So that's the first person. So we do know that the verb is sing. So what is that verb? Who sings?
I.
Good. So say that. Put those two together.
I sing.
Good. We've got the first two words of the Aeneid translated already. Good. I sing. Sometimes these two words are put after the nouns, but you could also put them before the nouns. So it's like, about hamburgers and French fries I sing. Or, I sing about hamburgers and French fries. Either way, it's fine. Syntax doesn't matter so much in Latin. But what do we know? What is this narrator singing about? Or making a poem about? You don't have to think about it. Just read the Latin. It's right on the board. Don't look at me. Look at the Latin. Yes? Okay. Good. We've already got a good, very famous portion of the Aeneid translated. I sing of arms. And remember what we said about Quay, yeah?
Would it be man?
I need you to speak up.
Would it,
Nice and loud.
would it be man?
Yes. Okay. I sing of arms. The man.
You're missing a word.
We need another word here, and then we've got the most famous beginning lines of one of the most famous poems ever written in the history of the world. And let's see, Holly?
Men. I sing of arms and men.
We've got the man here. Good. So, okay, Talon? Okay, so everybody, let's read this together. So let's read the Latin together first. Arma virumque cano. So, everybody in English. I sing of arms and the man. I sing of arms and the man. I sing. Either way. Hopefully those of you who are jotting down the notes of this translation are becoming an inspiration to your fellow students who are just realizing, like, oh, I need to do that too. Good. Of arms and the man, I sing. I sing of arms and the man. Okay. Great. Holly.
Well, I think since it's the is in there, as in plural, kind of.
Not plural, but accusative.
Accusative. Wouldn't it be and men instead of the man? That doesn't seem right.
This is a singular ending. Remember, like puellum, like puerum, right? In the plural, it's pueri. That's the plural in the first or second declension. First declension, first, second, third declension. I'm not sure what declension it is, but I know that it's plural. Okay, so. Okay. Everybody, let's sing the first lines in English.
I sing of arms and the man.
Who's the man? What is this man? Let's use context clues, folks. What's the title of the whole epic? Victoria. Read it as if it was Spanish. Yeah, say that again loud. Aeneid. So yeah, that's fine. The Aeneid. but Aeneid is probably even better to sing. Read it like it's Spanish most of the time, except for those C's, which you want to have as hard C's in Latin. So, the Aeneid. So, Aeneas is the dude. I sing of arms and the dude. Aeneas, or Aeneas, he's the dude, because this whole thing is about him. But what else? The poet, or the narrator, is not just going to be telling us about Aeneid, like, and he was born in Albany. He's really in a hospital. Oh, it's a nice day. Oh, it's not like the nurse, right? He's talking about also the war, yeah?
Yeah, because of arms has to mean something other than just him. Might be arms of war or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. And it's the Trojan War, so we're about to embark on that. Yes.
Is this anything like Romeo and Juliet?
In what sense?
In the sense of the war.
Oh, the war between the feuding houses? I mean, the fact that they're feuding, they hate each other, but these guys actually negotiate. Sort of. In a way. Oh my goodness! You just made me realize something so crucial to the understanding of Romeo and Juliet. How could I have forgotten this? I've never realized this. Paris. I always wondered what Paris has to do with Romeo and Juliet. But he's like one of the main dudes in the book. And he is like Helen, you know Helen of Troy? She's like the babe of Troy. She's the most babest babe ever. In fact, yeah.
Are you okay?
I'm just saying in literature, she's known as the most beautiful woman ever. Helen is known as like the most, and in fact, in Shakespeare's day, Shakespeare's competition, he had this other guy that he was like competing with named Marlowe, Christopher Marlowe, who, by the way, got in a bar fight and had his eye poked out with a knife.
Oh my god.
No.
It's like the pencil.
That's how he died, yeah. It's worse.
It's like the pencil thing all over again.
It's like the pencil thing all over again.
Except for much sharper.
But here's the thing. He wrote a version called. He said in his version that's talking about like Helen of Troy. He sees Helen. He goes into hell, and he sees her, and he says, "Is this the face that launched 1,000 ships?" And he's referring to, like, basically, these two warring countries. They were at war with each other. Helen was like with this guy on one side. They were together, like, you know, husband and wife, whatever. And then the guy on the other side came in and stole her and brought her to the other side. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. They weren't at war. They were just two sort of neighboring countries. And then this guy kind of came in, stole Helen, and then basically he's like, "We're going to war to get her back." So they launched the whole army to get her back. Yeah.
Did they get her back?
That's a good question. We'll find. Huh? Well, it's not so easy because
Is this a true story?
it's not. Well, I mean, it depends. There's a professor at UMass Amherst who says all stories are true.
Not all.
No. He's just saying like that. There's a deeper sense in which there's some kind of truth in the story. Not literally true, but maybe figuratively true.